Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are along Kazue Souma's route. He and Nomura and I are working as pages and also taking care of the Fury Core, but I've been spending a lot of time with Souma. We were just talking to Okita about it. Well, anyway, let's just go ahead and get right back into this conversation we were having between the three of us. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story.
Oh, just leave it. I'll eat it when I feel like it.
Maybe.
You know, it'd be better for you if you ate even at times when you don't feel like it.
That's right, Okita. You really do need to rest and take better care of yourself.
Jeez, all you guys do is nag me. Look, truth is, I'm really not hungry.
Yeah, a lot of times sick people aren't hungry, but you still need to eat. Okita looked at us with playful distaste, but he accepted the porridge from Souma.
He looks really angry, man.
His handsome face warped, perhaps disgusted by the thought of eating what was in his bowl.
Hey, Souma, this porridge has green onions and other crap in it. I told you not to put this crap in there. Do you suck this much at making porridge, too?
I apologize for that. Really, I meant to take out the green onions like you'd asked. But then Chief Kondo was passing by, and he told me your illness won't go away if you keep being a picky eater. Well, Kondo needs to tell that to Okita. 'Cause it's even worse if you're making stuff he doesn't like and he doesn't eat it at all.
Huh.
But I understand. I'll remake it.
That's fine. I'll eat it.
Just because he respects Kondo so much. Okita was pouting like a child. He puckered his lips, grabbing the bowl and gingerly brought it to his lips. As he was slurping the porridge, he looked dissatisfied, but at least he was eating. I sighed with relief. Okita, do you only listen to what others have to say when it comes out of Kondo's mouth?
Yep, pretty much.
Then why don't we always just tell him Kondo said it?
What are you trying to say? That I don't listen or something?
Yep. I didn't mean it that way. I just wanted to say that I noticed how much you really respect Kondo.
Well, duh. Kondo's word is law. It's always been that way, ever since we were at Shie Hall.
Shie Hall? So that's the dojo that teaches the Narration style, right?
Yup. It was Kondo's dojo. Hijikata and I used to spar there.
Okita was smiling as he caught himself in a brief moment of reflection. A while ago, Heisuke had shared with us a story of his days with the Roshigumi, but I hadn't heard much about the time in which they all worked in the Shie Hall, a time before the Roshigumi days. I was very curious. Kondo Shie Hall.
I mean, that's where they trained Chief Kondo and Commander Hijikata. I'm sure it was one heck of a dojo. You think so?
Of course. It must have been such a big dojo. Everyone surely knew about...
Wrong. The Shie Hall isn't the kind of dojo you're thinking of, Souma. Most of the students were farmers, and the walls had holes in them that would let the breeze in. When it rained, the building leaked like crazy. And we were the jackasses that had to fix it. It was a real crap hole looking back at it now.
We looked around, and surrounding us now was a newly built, state-of-the-art compound. Throughout my time here, we heard that the early days were a little tough, but it's hard to imagine seeing how the Shinsengumi is doing now.
Yeah, you guys have no idea.
Okita placed the bowl of porridge on a side table, and he exhaled a cool, visible breath of white.
I mean, I'm not doing anything else right now, so I might as well tell you both a story about how things used to be.
Ooh, more tales of the past. He began opening up about Shie Hall, which was a small dojo where a young Kondo got his start. The dojo was located in the countryside, which was night and day compared to the 4 largest dojos in Edo.
Other people always used to give us crap for being the dojo with a bunch of farmhands. But, of course, if anyone said it to our face, we made sure to teach them a lesson.
It looks like not much has changed. Or maybe that's just you then, Okita. Surprisingly, Shie Hall was home to many talented swordsmen who took great pride in their craft, and it became a gathering of very powerful men. Both Hijikata and Inoue were pupils at the time. On top of that, Sanin, Nagakura, Harada, and Heisuke were staying there, hungry to learn. Okita, you were a student too, right?
Yep. Well, I'd lived there since I was a kid, so technically I should outrank Hijikata because he had to commute there. Whenever Kondo was gone, I was the assistant instructor. Besides, I was stronger than Hijikata.
I see. I didn't know about all this. It seems I still have much to learn.
What are you talking over there, Soma?
Oh, it's nothing. Soma frantically straightened his posture, as if afraid of setting off Okita by saying something that would annoy him.
Kondo's always aspired to be a warrior, even back then. He used to say, I'm just a poor owner of a dojo, and I can't even feed you all, but someday I vow to become a warrior and make you all proud. Every time Kondo would open up about his dreams, he really looked like he meant it. It's the start of the reason why I became so devoted to him.
Okita stopped himself because, although he wouldn't say it, he was thinking of his childhood. I decided to speak up, albeit softly. So that dream... It all came true, didn't it? Of course I was it. What do you mean, did it come to fruition? I'm right here, seeing it all. How could you ask that question? So, that whole dream came true, right?
What do you think, Chizuru?
Oh, good lord. Yes, I mean, basically everyone in Kyoto knows who the Shinsengumi is. Even as far as your social standing goes, there are many who consider you serious warriors.
Maybe if you're an outsider.
Okita nodded lightly to his own words. However, it seemed as if he wasn't totally sure of what he had said.
So, are you not happy with being a warrior only?
Not me, but Kondo and Hijikata aren't. I don't think this is their endgame. I'm sure they're still looking for loftier heights.
Well, I think Kondo is, but I think Hijikata just wants to support Kondo. Okita stared at the snow in the yard. However, it felt as though Okita was stuck in deeper thought, as his eyes were focused beyond the horizon. Beyond the reach of the sky's furthest corner. A place we couldn't reach.
I wonder how far I can keep up, to wherever they want to go.
Soma stood up straight in front of Okita. He was putting some thought into his words, and he continued speaking.
I've been thinking lately. A true warrior isn't so because of his social standing or who he knows.
You are saying some radical stuff, Soma. If the wrong person heard that, they'd give it to you.
Even so, my opinion is the same. I was born a warrior, and I've seen it for myself. I've seen plenty of men who claim to be warriors, but they were so complacent and happy to be handed what they were given at birth. It's also superficial. They just want to keep the ship steady. They have those kind of options. Although not every domain is like that, I've seen so many that think so.
Is that why you joined the Shinsengumi, Soma?
Yes, this is what I know for sure now. If all I wanted was to work for the shogunate, then I'm sure I'd have plenty of other options. But there aren't too many groups out there like the Shinsengumi, where people are actually working toward the things they believe in. That's why it got me thinking. A true warrior isn't someone who wants to gain power for the sake of having it. A true warrior is someone who is passionate about defending those around them, even at the risk of their own lives.
Soma contained so much passion in his heart, and I could see how deeply he believed his words. Okita, however, didn't say a word. He didn't make any snide comments, nor did he joke at Soma's expense. All he said was one phrase.
Thank you.
Huh?
Well, that's with a surprise. You think I'm the kind of guy that can't give any credit where it's due?
No, it's not like that. It's just, I've never seen you act like a civil person. I thought you hated me this whole time, so I never imagined I'd hear you say thank you to me.
Huh, but I do hate you.
Oh, Okita, come on. Okita, can't you just... The moment was a little spoiled, but Okita just laughed it off like he normally does.
But what I hate about you isn't your personality. It's just you, your upbringing. Can't you see it? You were born into a warrior family, and then you just threw it all away. Then you came to an organization where everyone would kill to have the life you were given. It's just like you're rubbing it all over our faces.
That's not true at all. I respect the Shinsengumi with all my heart.
Yeah, I know that now. And I know you don't mean all of it.
What? Okita kept laughing to himself, while keeping a calm and stern demeanor in front of Soma.
Look, frankly, your swordsmanship is just a little above average. I'm sure you can handle all the rogue farmers and pipsqueaks in the world, but against a real swordsman, you're as good as dead.
Well, you're his teacher, so don't you think that kind of means a little something?
Wow, when you put it like that, it all sounds so depressing.
But you have guts. If it came to guarding Kondo and Chizuru, you pass, I guess.
Then Soma's eyes grew incredibly wide. Although it was kind of a backhanded compliment to Soma, I'm sure coming from Okita it truly meant the world to him, since he respects him so much.
Well, until I can hold my sword again. Make sure you protect Kondo and Chizuru, Soma.
Yes, sir. I will do so to the best of my ability.
Okita seemed fatigued from the length of our conversation, so he slowly crawled into his bed. Oh. And so we had left Okita's room to return to the common room. I think you're amazing, Soma.
What do you mean?
Okita never usually tells people how he really feels. So for him to share his past with us like that, I think that was a very rare sight. I've never seen him entrust anyone else with protecting Kondo. At times, Okita seemed like he cherished Kondo more than himself, and now he was sharing his responsibility with someone else. Even if it was a temporary thing, for Okita, it must have been difficult to accept. Which must have been why he was so reluctant to accept Soma as Kondo's page. But for him to appreciate what Soma said, and to express his gratitude, it means Okita accepts him now.
Thanks to Okita, I finally feel like I'm learning about the origins of the Shinsengumi. Because all of them had to work to become warriors instead of being born one. It's made the Shinsengumi all the stronger.
I like the fact that going along Soma's route lets us learn a lot about the past of the Shinsengumi. Because it was something I was worried about going along his route, that I would get a little bored with the whole typical young warrior learning how to get strong and protect the person he loves. But yeah, adding this whole learning about the past thing makes it much, much more interesting to me. Yes, I think it's quite wonderful. A good warrior can come from anywhere.
Honestly, I can't believe I used to call myself a warrior back then, without knowing what I do now.
But you're a Shinsengumi warrior now, right? I smiled kindly at Soma.
I'm not there yet.
Aw. In response, he smiled, determined to fight for the future he knows he can achieve. And we can skip some. And now we're in Chapter 5, December 1867. So now we are on his exclusive route. Which means no more skipping, because everything should be new, I think. Because of imperial restoration, political power had shifted from the shogunate back to the imperial court. And as the restoration became official, the newly established alliance between the Satsuma and Choshu began marching their forces to Kyoto. Formally speaking, the Tokugawa shogunate was a shadow of its former self, but they somehow still had control over aspects of the Japanese government. December 1867. After the assassination of Ryoma Sakamoto had occurred last month, tension between the shogunate and the Satsuma had reached its peak, developing into a full-blown declaration of war. My poor Sakamoto. The name Ryoma Sakamoto has sounded somewhat familiar. From what I remembered, he was a Toso Ronin whom the Shinsengumi had been watching closely. Shogunate officials had commanded the Shinsengumi not to lay a finger on Sakamoto. Regardless, there was no way the Sakamoto or Choshu, who had been cooperating with Sakamoto, could let this go quietly. Since assuming power through the path of the imperial court, they gathered forces in Kyoto. The shogunate, on the other hand, was becoming agitated by the pervasive enemy military presence within the city. As a result, they attempted to respond with their own forces in a show of brute authority. Because of mutual interests, the Shinsengumi had been ordered to guard the Fushimi magistrate. We were drawn closer to the end of the year, only a few days remaining in 1867. The threat of war loomed above all of us as the men began fortifying the Fushimi magistrate.
Hey guys, start busting ass. All those guns better be in by sundown. Hey, who the hell placed cannons right next to the bonfires? Trying to kill all of us, are you?
The anticipation of a possible Satsuma Choshu attack made everyone anxious to hurry with the preparations for the war, myself included. Today I had awoken early to perform some chores around the magistrate. Hey, Harada and Nagakura, I'm sure the two of you are tired. I prepared some tea. Want some?
Oh man, how nice of you. Thanks, Chizuru. But you know what would make this real great is if you filled all of this with some sake instead.
Dude, it's the middle of the day, you got work to do.
Don't be stupid, Shin. Save it for later. Sorry, Chizuru. I know you've been working non-stop too. You must be tired as well.
No, I'm perfectly fine. This is my job after all. If I were a man, I would be able to do my part by serving or offering labor to help, but this was the only thing I knew how to do to prepare for war. I felt bad as the two of them laughed, perhaps trying to lighten the mood.
No need for the long face, sweetheart. Leave the fighting to us.
Yeah, we'll just force those Satsuma Choshu assholes away and get back to headquarters stat.
Oh, right. He was right. With any luck, the fighting would be over before we knew it. Unfortunately, we are not lucky. The two of them had always been so dependable, so I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief as I handed them their tea. Everyone, the weather has been so cold recently, so please enjoy some warm tea.
Oh, thanks, Yukimura. If you could leave it there.
I also made some rice balls, so please feel free to enjoy some of those as well.
That is good to know. I have not had a thing to eat all day.
I carried tea and a light meal to each of the men. Saito and Inoue, as well as some of their men, had been drawing plans upon a large map.
With the Uji River south here, I assume the enemy camps would either situate themselves here or here. Yes, we only need to look for an area that would be conducive to a large gathering of forces. However, we shouldn't underestimate them. The Satsuma Choshu are gaining momentum. I am certain their momentum is only a result of the shogunate's losing of power. What is truly concerning is that their morale is increasing.
However, as it stands, we still have the tactical advantage in terms of numbers. If it is a matter of holding our ground, we needn't worry. What matters is sticking to our objective.
Saito and Yamazaki nodded in agreement. I listened to their conversation as I continued to hand out the tea and food, but it seemed like everyone was convinced, even if the fighting became dire, that we couldn't lose. Just then,
Soma, I hear you.
Echoes of a more serious, intimate conversation came from the inner yard, and I looked over. Is that Hijikata and Soma? I wonder what they're talking about.
Everyone's convinced that victory is all but assured, but I don't think we should underestimate our enemies. When I was in the shogunate army during the Choshu expedition, the shogunate thought they would just waltz in and teach the rebels a lesson. Then, when the action started going down, the shogunate army ended up losing.
So, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying we're going to lose too.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that yet.
Look, I'm not trying to call you out. I don't mind listening, just give it to me straight. To put it frankly, I think this battle is going to be pretty tough.
It looked like the two of them were locked in a pretty serious conversation about the war. After Hijikata's urging, Soma seemed to come to his conclusion.
During the last Choshu subjugation, I may not have been in the front lines, but I remember everything pretty clearly. We couldn't even touch them. Every time the Satsuma Choshu fired their guns, everyone flinched because they knew it meant dead allies. I just can't explain what we're up against until they're right in front of us. You have to see it.
The gap in artillery between us and them is something I've been worried about for a while. But then again, we can't just roll over and take it without giving our best.
Yes, sir. I understand.
And we can't worry too much either. That won't do much to stop the bullet when it's coming for you. But I'll take what you said into consideration. We'll come up with a contingency plan should things go to crap.
Hijikata was acting respectfully, letting Soma know his input was valued, and as he turned to walk away, he seemed deep in thought. Hey, Soma? Don't look all freaked out. I approached Soma timidly, and he seemed to have snapped out of it immediately to look at me.
Yukimura, did you hear all of that?
Yes, but just the end of it. So, you really think that this battle will be a tough one?
Yes, but I'm sorry. I shouldn't be such a downer before the fighting even started.
Even though I couldn't hold it against Soma for voicing his concern, it sounded fearful. I knew that Soma wasn't the type of person to exaggerate for no good reason either.
I just hope that my paranoia about it all ends up being just me assuming the worst.
I felt for him. The other Shinsengumi men hadn't even entertained the thought of losing at all. However, no matter how much I told myself that it was all under control, I couldn't help but worry. It wasn't even a matter of winning or losing. Regardless of the outcome, I was afraid of thinking what would happen should one of the warriors become seriously hurt. As the rumors of war continued to build, I could only let out a sigh. Luckily, the shogunate army had allied domains, such as the Aizu and the Ugeki unit, in which Iba had joined. The moments until the eventual breakout of war were lessening, and the shogunate pulled every ally they could toward Kyoto. Within Fushimi, a war council was called upon to delegate strategy, and Kondo had been invited. Soma, Shimada, and I had been accompanying him as his guards and assistant, and we were on our way back to the magistrate after the meeting. We actually get to be part of that this time, for the first time, I think.
Phew, boy. I do not think I will ever get used to spending time with the government officials.
You did well in the council, Kondo.
Chief, if you're tired, would you like your horse?
Behind us was a horse led by Shimada, and Kondo turned to look at it. However, he simply let out a hearty chuckle, and he shook his head.
Riding the horse may be the more comfortable option, but I feel like walking is good for me. I wouldn't want to become stiff. Besides, the magistrate is just up there, so hold on to the horse, will you, Shimada? Understood. Then we should hurry before sundown.
Looking around us, the city of Fushimi was turning into a lovely shade of orange, the sky glowing over all of us. For some reason, it felt a little melancholy. News of war had reached the citizens, too. Many shut their shops indefinitely with signs.
So, Chief Kondo, how is everything at the council?
Everyone seemed very on edge about the whole thing. I mean, I can't blame them because the Satsuma Choshu are right on our doorstep.
So, the war is inevitable then, yes?
Yes, the onus is on the Satsuma Choshu to pull their troops if avoidance were to happen, but I have no hopes for such a thing to occur. In fact, I believe they are trying to capitalize on the shogunate while it's still vulnerable. This will likely be the toughest battle we fought yet, and as Shinsengumi, we need to show them what we're made of.
Kondo gripped his fist tightly, and he nodded to himself resolutely. As I watched him speak confidently, I found myself begin to speak out almost reactively. Are you not afraid, Kondo?
What do you mean by that?
Once war breaks out, that means you and all your men would potentially be exposed to violence. I realized my statement may have been an affront to many warriors willing to risk their lives. In response, Kondo squinted his eyes slowly, answering in a soft, calm demeanor.
Of course I'm scared.
What?
What? Chief? Chief Kondo, I thought you just laughed the question off.
It is nothing to be surprised about. Believe it or not, everyone is worried about potentially dying. However, there is something more scary to me than dying. Do you know what it could be?
Neither me nor Soma could think of an answer, so Kondo smiled and answered for us.
What is even scarier is having to live a life that compromises your values. You would be betraying yourself and turning your back on your dreams. However, if you keep your resolve, success is all but guaranteed. But I'm not talented enough to do so. Additionally, I'm sure that compromising my ideals wouldn't be a good reflection of myself. That is what gets me thinking. No matter how I may die, if my death is an honorable one, then that is all I could have asked for.
I could only imagine what Hijikata would have said if he were here. Don't be stupid. You dying would just create problems for the rest of us. Considering he was the chief of an entire organization, Kondo had a gift for candor, which made the thought of possibly losing him even more difficult. He possessed a way with words that resonated deeply in our hearts.
You know, Chief Kondo, Okita was talking about how your charm makes everyone want to follow you. I feel like I have a better idea of that today.
Oh, shucks. You're making me blush. Damn it, Soji. I had no idea he said that about me. Honestly, I'm more surprised Okita would say something so kind to other people.
You're the only person he says really kind things about. Yeah, he also told us about some of the old stories from back in Shiei Hall. Are we about to get stories from Kondo too?
Shiei Hall, eh? Wow, surely he told you all about it, but I ran a tiny dojo in the countryside. And now here I am, representing the shogunate in an official capacity for a real battle. I suppose that one could say that my dream has come true, at least partly, right?
Kondo grinned from ear to ear, looking at Soma as he spoke.
Come to think of it, this has to be the biggest battle you've seen a part of since joining the Shinsengumi, isn't it, Soma?
Yes, ever since joining, there haven't been many battles that require my involvement. So, for us to come this far, I plan on giving it my all. I won't consider failure an option.
That's the spirit. You're fighting with all of us as a member of the Shin...
Chief Kondo!
Seemingly out of nowhere, a gunshot was fired, and Kondo suddenly choked on his words. Then our chief had fallen to the floor. Blood was gushing from his shoulder, pulling beneath him, when suddenly we heard a rustle.
We get him?
No, it wasn't deep enough. Reload!
Who's out there?
Shimada, no! We need to save Kondo first!
Besides, there could be more assassins. Don't stop now, it's dangerous.
His shoulder had been bleeding non-stop, and Kondo's skin was growing pale from loss of blood. Shimada, watching us from behind, was looking for any sign of the gunmen.
Okay, you're right. We need to get out of here before we're surrounded. Hurry, put the chief on the horse.
I helped lift Kondo, who was soaked in his own blood, onto the horse, and we all started sprinting through the main road.
Damn it, after them!
The sound of gunfire echoed behind us as we ran. We had no choice but to keep running. Once we'd arrived at the magistrate with a wounded Kondo in tow, the place erupted into panic. We carried Kondo, who was writhing in pain, into an empty room, and Yamazaki and I worked to stop the bleeding. Some time had passed, and it was evening. Yamazaki and I had been taking turns looking after Kondo, whose condition had stabilized. After Yamazaki relieved me from watching him, I headed to my room to get some sleep. Kondo was shot right through his shoulder. The bullet had pierced straight through, but the bone had been shattered. Its closeness to his corroded artery meant if we didn't treat his injury immediately, he could die. Also, if he doesn't have the bone set correctly, then it's just as likely he'll never use his arm again. However, this location didn't have enough supplies required for an intensive surgery. I was pacing in the hallway, thinking about how to proceed, when I saw a shadow approaching me. Soma!
Yukimura, how's Chief Kondo holding up?
Well, his condition has stabilized a little, and the gunshot only hit his shoulder. But if we can't do much for him here, he'll only get worse if we don't get him to a doctor as soon as possible.
I see.
Soma grimaced, tightening his hands into fists.
An update came from the front. The culprits responsible for the assassination attempt were the remnants of the guardians of the Imperial Tomb.
The guard? What? Could it be Miki?
Well, we didn't see him at the scene, but there's a high chance that he could be involved. I mean, the motive's there, and he has a pretty big grudge against the Shinsengumi.
I recalled seeing Miki during the wee hours of the morning after the Aburano Koji incident, and he cursed us before vanishing back into the darkness. Every time I remembered the way he hissed toward us with hatred, and my hair stood up.
Whoever it was, it doesn't change the fact that the chief was attacked, and his life's in danger. The captains all blew up, especially Okita, of course.
Okita is hurt already?
Yes, I just talked to him.
Anyone who considered themselves a member of the Shinsengumi knew just how much Okita respected Kondo. Thinking about him hearing that his mentor had been shot would have invited a furious rage I would have been afraid to see. Why? Why did you tell him, Soma? Yeah, I think we should have kept that from him as long as possible, at least until Kondo was out of the woods.
I had to. Okita trusted me to protect Kondo, and I couldn't do that.
Oh man. Gotcha. So you're trying to tell me that you were right next to him, Soma, but couldn't protect him. Is that it?
Yes, sir. I deeply apologize. You asked me if I was able to risk my life for him. This is all my fault. If only I were more careful.
Forget it. Dismissed, Soma.
Huh?
I said you can go. Will you get your ass out of here?
But wait. Is that really all you have to say?
What? You want me to sock you in your gut or lecture you or something?
Yes, I'm prepared for that. Even if you ask me to cut my stomach.
Don't take it the wrong way, Soma. If I'm mad, it's not at you. Truth is, I'm mad at myself for not being there myself. Besides, with what right can I blame you when my sick ass is here in bed? I can't even guard him.
But that's not your fault.
Crap. If I wasn't sick, I could have gone with Kondo.
Okita.
Look, if it's really what you want, then fine. I'll punch him once. Only if, it'll make you feel better.
So, what did Okita do?
Well, he punched me, but...
Soma's hand shook as he touched his cheeks, but he continued on, wincing as he spoke.
But when Okita punched me, he had no strength behind it. He kicked my ass over and over again when Nomura and I trained with him. But now he's become so...
Soma... I think if Okita had hit him as hard as he could, Soma would have felt some catharsis. For Soma, I'm sure Okita was someone he admired greatly. The Shinsengumi's captain of the 1st Division. No matter how hard the two of them trained, I'm sure neither of them thought they could ever beat Okita in a sword fight. But that didn't seem to be the case anymore, and seeing someone he'd looked up to in such horrible shape must have been deflating for him. But was it really him being physically weak, or was it him being too depressed to put energy into it? I reached out to touch Soma's cheeks. It didn't seem like he had been punched at all.
Yukimura, what are you doing?
Shh, don't move. I held Soma's head tightly, drawing him in toward me in an embrace. I wanted to comfort him as he seemed to be consumed by Survivor's guilt. You're too honest with people. That's why you're so sensitive. If he just wanted Okita to know what had happened, he could have sent anyone else to tell him. If he had done so, then he wouldn't be feeling as guilty as he was. But even so, I was sure that he was in no position to impose such a task on anyone else. Soma was far too direct and serious to trust this with anyone else. I can't really tell you not to worry, of course. But please, don't put all of this on yourself. When Kondo was shot, you weren't the only one watching it happen. I was there too. Shimada too was there, and he felt just as guilty as either of us. No matter what people ask of you, they can't expect you to protect someone all the time. Placing that burden on yourself will tear you apart.
Even so, I could have protected him.
How? It's impossible. Relive it as many times as you can. It's impossible.
I wanted to show everyone that I was strong enough to protect him. I wanted to be strong.
As we held each other, I wasn't sure how much time had passed. All I knew was that it was nighttime, and the calm stillness was only interrupted by the distant chirp of birds in the distance. Soma was still feeling a little bit of shame, and he slowly removed himself from my arms. Are you okay now?
Yes. Sorry about that, Miss Yukimura. I'm embarrassed you saw that side of me.
Don't worry about it. Soma, perhaps because he had only been with us for a short while, seemed emotionally guarded at times, which caused me to stop and cherish this moment of vulnerability he was sharing with me. As I was contemplating these thoughts, I could sense someone was approaching us. And we'll find out who that is in the next episode, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a long scene when we get someone else in here. So, hope to see you for that next episode or in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.